Light history, benefits, and uses. Light plays a critical but often overlooked aspect in our overall wellness. We're talking about sunlight, photobiomodulation, and artificial light, and how we can optimize these things in our own lives to create more health. Some ways that light has been used throughout history is that Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, used heliotherapy or light therapy with his patients to improve all forms of ailments. In 1903, Niels Finsen described that the UV light actually kills tuberculosis and won a Nobel Prize for that. Now, sunlight has largely been vilified by doctors and the media, and this is very unfortunate. Sun is literally the thing that gives life to our planet. Now, it can become problematic if you get too much exposure too fast. So it's often the people that get no exposure, then they go out for a really long time. But the people who are exposed gradually and every day, like those are the healthiest people that we know. Sunlight is very critical, not just for vitamin D, but neurotransmitters, hormones, nitric oxide, bone health, hormonal balance, and countless other processes in the body. So let's actually get in how we can optimize light. Number one is get enough sunlight in the morning. This helps with the circadian rhythm and overall body balance. Number two is do not overuse sunglasses. They have their place in certain instances, like if it's super sunny while you're driving or snowboarding or something like that. But for the most part, we kind of want to avoid them. 70% of the photoreceptors are in our eyes. And if we're blocking out the light, then we're blocking out a critical part of our overall wellness. Again, if you're photosensitive, you can gradually do this, but it's very important to get the sunlight in your eyes. Maybe wear a hat or something, but make sure that you're getting the sun in your eyes. Number three is to do not overuse sunscreen. Sunscreen usually blocks the UVB light, which is a spectrum of light that synthesizes vitamin D. Sunscreen, again, it has its place if you're going to be out in the sun for a long time, but ironically, it's been proven that the ingredients in sunscreen usually cause skin cancer in the first place. And also because it blocks UVB light and not UVA, usually that is going to be more susceptible to skin cancer because we need those light spectrums in balance. The UVA is considered to be more carcinogenic. Also, we need to keep in mind that when our eyes are produced the sunlight, we synthesize something called melanin in our eyes. We have melanin in the skin for protection. We also develop that within our own eyes. So kind of gradual exposure to that. Number four is be mindful of the type of light bulbs that you're actually using. So we have the incandescent bulbs, we have the LEDs, and the fluorescent bulbs. So which ones should we actually use for our own health? Well, actually it's going to be old school incandescent bulbs for a variety of reasons. Now we know that incandescent bulbs, yes, they do produce more energy. But if you are not utilizing them very much, which I recommend, and keep in mind the other bulbs usually have mercury in them, which are not good for the environment. So we got to strike a balance with that. But here's why incandescent bulbs are going to be the most biocompatible. When we look at light bulbs, there's something called the CRI, or the Color Rendering Index. Now this is the scale that is used to determine how identical the light is to sunlight. The higher it is, the better. Now, CRI of incandescent bulbs are 99. That is the best you can get. Scale is 100. The rest of them are like 80. They're not good at all. Another thing to mention here is the degrees Kelvin. This is kind of like the brightness of the bulb. We want around 2700 for biocompatibility when it comes to light bulbs. Lastly, there's something called the flicker rate. Now the flicker rate is basically the lights turning on and off extremely fast, pulsed width modulation. And we don't ever recognize it, but our retina does. So the lights are always turning off and on many times a second. And lowering the flicker rate is going to be the best to help remove the strain from the eyes and our biology. Now, the incandescent bulbs pretty much have no flicker. There are some, but very little. The other bulbs have a lot of flicker. And lastly, when you want to get incandescent bulbs, do your best to get clear ones, like there's no filament in them. So clear incandescent bulbs, those are going to be the most biocompatible. They're very relaxing. And lastly, another tip here is you can get red incandescent bulbs, for sleep. Like, because we know that blue light, even if it's incandescent bulbs, they're going to be more disruptive to sleep at night. So when the lights are gone, when it's nighttime, using red light or Himalayan salt lamps, that can actually be another tip if you need light at night to kind of keep you in that relaxed state. Because thinking about it, our ancestors only had fire. They only had red or orange light at night anyways. So our biology is still the same. Number 5 is use photobiologimation when necessary. Now, photobiomodulation is a fancy term for light therapy. Now, a lot of people don't have sunlight year round. A lot of people, it's hard to get sunlight in the winter months. Thankfully, there's something we can do about this. I still recommend going outside as much as you can because nothing beats natural light, even if it's wintertime. But investing in like red light devices, red light therapy, infrared light, all these can be very beneficial for overall biology. Think of it as a light supplement. Like we supplement nutrients because of like malpractice with the soil and poor farming practices. Well, we can do the same with light. There are many devices out there. If we're talking about infrared light panels, we want to have like 850 nanometers of near infrared and about 600 of red light. Because there are certain devices out there that aren't very good, but there are some that are very good. And just like what I talked about flicker, like a lot of the devices have a lot of EMFs and high amounts of flicker. So there's a few devices on there. I mean, I use something called the Joovv, Joovv. They're an excellent company. And it's one of the most beneficial things in terms of biohacking, which improved my health. A quick tip about biohacking is that is just the application of technology for better health. And funny enough that most of it is just mimicking what we automatically would get in nature. But because we live in a different environment, technology is a good idea. Nothing actually beats the real thing, but you can get dramatically healthier by using certain biohacks like this. Number 6 here is use light dims and light blocking technologies. So there are certain like lights in our house that maybe emit blue lights, whether if it's in a room or not. And we don't need to see these for the most part. And if we can't turn them off, like there are certain brands, like there's light dims that they're like these black stickers that you can cover up the light with. I have a few of them around, and this kind of make things more peaceful. So it's covering up any type of disruptive light. When it comes to our laptops and phones, there's a software called Iris. Now, for the laptops, computers, there's, again, it's the same exact thing that we see with artificial lights. There's a lot of flicker, there's poor spectrum of lighting, like usually high amount of blue light, way too much, and just overall kind of hard on our biology. There's a software called Iris. Iris is a technology that reduces the flicker of the screen. It balances the spectrum of light on the screen, reduces the blue light, and makes it much more peaceful. And I notice I can do a lot more work on the computer with this because I'm not getting as much strain. So it's kind of a productivity thing as well. There's also one called Flux. This is good, and it's a basic thing, but it's not as comprehensive as Iris. It does mitigate the blue light, but does nothing for the flicker. So keep that in mind. A lot of the phones these days have something called Night Shift. So that kind of does something similar in terms of light spectrum balancing. So I'd recommend turning that on. And I recommend having these things on 24/7 because, again, blue light is not bad. It's like when it comes from artificial sources, it's usually way too much on the wrong frequencies. But don't be silly and like thinking you need to block the blue light from the sun. That's just not how it works. Like we need real natural lighting. But when it comes to artificial light, we kind of want to mitigate that as much as we can. And the thing about Iris as well is also has a red light feature, so you can kind of have the screen red at night, and your eyes will adjust. Like you can see pretty well with it. It's not a disruptive thing. And lastly, like our eyes are designed to have night vision as well. If we have the lights on all the time, like we have rod receptors in our eyes. These are designed for night vision, peripheral vision, picking up the subtle things. If we just have light vision all the time, which are our cone receptors in the eyes, then we're kind of like half visioned in a way. Like our vision is not going to be as balanced or as well. So kind of improve your night vision. seeing things at low level light, it's a good thing. So it all may seem like a lot, but I would just recommend doing, foundational principles, getting real sunlight, and just do small steps. Like if this is all new, and then just do something and make progress in that direction. See how you get benefits from it, and it's just becomes part of your life, and you don't really think about it, but you do experience the benefits on a continuous basis.